in the past, we've been focusing on energy transition theme. The minerals mostly were lithium, copper. Also, we touched on uranium. Today, it's a less, I would say, less understood mineral sector, mineral sand, but more specifically silicon dioxide or quartz or crystal, whatever you call it, the high purity silica sector. There are two companies presenting. The first one is Greentech. Presenting Greentech today is a director of the company, Terry Grace. I will make a declaration. Obviously, Richlink is engaged by Greentech to help the company to have raised last round of capital. I personally invested in the company. I'm also a director of the company. With that, I'll read out Terry's personal background as a backdrop. Terry has had a long-term commitment to accounting, tax, and management of SME entities, having commenced the public practice in 1984. His business started in Western Australia called Terry Grace and Associates. Terry has held the directorships in numerous companies, private and unlisted public, across a variety of business, including gold exploration. He was the managing director of Mini Golf Australia Pty Limited and CEO for the multi-million-dollar redevelopment of the Mangrove Hotel in Broome, which I stayed. Well, I had lunch there last week. And director of Leila Rouge Pty Limited. He has advised many clients over the past 40 years of his career with extensive experience in management of corporate organizations. He's currently a director of Greentech and Golden Globe Resources. He's also the company secretary and CFO of these entities. So he's a very busy person. With that, Terry, I'll hand over for you to tell the Greentech Minerals story.
Thank you, George, and good afternoon to everyone. I want to start, if you like, with Greentech as by way of a summary. And I'm going to use a presentation that was put together as part of a funding process that we put together September 23. What I want to talk about is essentially what high purity quartz is, what Greentech Minerals Limited is about, and essentially where Greentech Minerals intends to go with the production of high purity quartz from its leaseholds in Mount Isa. Firstly, if you don't know, high purity quartz is an essential product that you need to mine, extract, and then process. The purity of high purity quartz is essential in that whole process, in the conversion, if you like, of SiO2 to Si. That process is something that is determined by impurities and is also going to determine ultimately what the product that we're producing as a feedstock is going to be used for. We've determined by way of the cargo the growth rate that we have had, if you like, produced externally from us with a growth rate of 5.56%, and that's to go through right through to 2032. We've got a very high grade of quartz deposit. We've had numerous tests done over the last 5 years, 6 years, all of which have pointed to a 99.96% grade of SiO2. We've got a life of mine estimate at this stage, which will go through for 15 to 20 years. Our position at Mount Isa, which is only, and the leasehold being only a number of 15 to 20 k's away from Mount Isa, means that the infrastructure that exists in Mount Isa is readily available to us in the production or post-mine production to get to a situation where we've got granulated quartz product that we can then ship. The cost of which to get to that point is relatively low. Most of the product that we've got exists above ground. So we're not talking about extraction of a resource below ground. There is product below ground, and we have got facility to do that. But what I'm saying is that the easily obtained material exists and it is above ground. We have various tonnages available to us in terms of the extraction. We've got easy movement of material by way of bulker bags that not only gets the product from town to Townsville and shipping to China particularly, but it also means the movement of material once it is in China is also relatively easy. We've got a fairly experienced board. George has indicated that he is already a director. I'm a director, and we have another gentleman by the name of Hugh Dye, who is also a director. We also have some very competent people on our advisory board, a gentleman by the name of Michael Etheridge and another one, Campbell Jones. Both of these guys are very experienced. Michael Etheridge in the area of geology, and Campbell Jones, who has been involved in high purity quartz for Uniman and Silica. We also have the benefit of having around about 651 square kilometres of land under our leaseholds. Those leases have also got potential for copper and gold and other rare earth materials, as well as potentially uranium and other elements that are going to be perfect, if you like, for the future of energy in the world. And that goes to obviously the need to find resources that are going to suit the forward view, if you like, of the world and the way in which we produce energy, the way in which we store energy, and the way in which we will shift from the oil and coal type commodities to things like, as I say, quartz, copper, and other rare earth components that make up what we need to do for the future sustainability of energy resources in the world. Our JORC resource is on that sheet that I've just put up on the screen. We've got a measured, indicated, inferred, totaling 386,000 tonnes. From our point of view, that means that we've got a material that is ready to go, and in fact, we've commenced the actions which we need to put in place to be able to extract that material, but processed in Mount Isa and have it shipped to China. Okay, let's just have a fairly brief view of what we want high purity quartz for. If you're not familiar, high purity quartz is a primary product for the production of photovoltaic and semiconductors and other high-tech components. It is also a fairly important ingredient, and not listed there, but in the production of high-quality lighting. High purity quartz has a very high melting point and is an integral part of the production of high quality lighting, where high temperature is obviously a part of that. We've got a mine plan that puts our product at an initial starting point of 10,000 tonnes per annum, right through to 30,000 tonnes per annum. We believe that the particular market which is of interest to us and China particularly is that where our proximity to China is important, and the future of the Chinese production being less reliant on the US is a fairly important part of what we're talking about. Purity, as I mentioned earlier, we've got an SiO2 product that is 99.96 or better. And the other thing is, and it's mentioned at the point 2 there, that the 200 parts per million of impurity, we've been able to get testing done recently, which suggests that 200 parts per million is in fact probably 4 times what we're currently looking at. We've got some figures currently sitting at 50 parts per million, which means, of course, that the efforts that we need to take the SiO2 raw ore that we've got at the moment to get to a point which is better for the production of both middle or inner layers of a crucible production are achievable. The figures that we've got at point 4 there, which are the $650 to $1,500 US a tonne, we know that currently the situation in China is dictating that those prices, whilst they might be applicable to the outer layer, we also know that middle and inner layer crucible layers, the grade and sizes of SiO2 that we're able to get to would dictate that those prices are probably not quite as they should be. We believe that our price will be substantially better than that if we get to middle and inner layer crucibles production. The actual processing of the material, we're working at, as I say, easy extraction from the mine site through to processing in Mount Isa, and then further to the Townsville port, which is only 920 k's away, and ore, as I say, being shipped by way of bulker bag is a convenient and easy way to move this material. So our cleaning, washing and bagging process will be conducted in Mount Isa, and it is in fact a relatively straightforward process. I've mentioned Campbell Jones and his experience with Belco and Uniman. Hugh Dyer is also a director, as I mentioned earlier, and has had extensive experience in this market in China. We also have offtake agreements at this stage with Malunga Energy Minerals, and we want to continue with the development of further offtake arrangements in China. Those are important to where we're going for our future. As I said before, the tonnages which we're wanting to work with over the next few years is to start at the 10,000 tonnes a year through to 30,000 tonnes a year. Those arrangements, if you like, in terms of how we might deal with that and how we might extract the ore and how we might process that in Mount Isa as part of our mine production plan, which we have already put in place. So in terms of where we're going for a time frame, we do have a situation where we are predicting that we will be able to have the commencement of mining in one form or another by Q2 of 2024. So this particular indicative timetable with the scoping study commencing in third quarter year ended 31st December 23. Part of that work has been completed already, but at this stage, our processing trials and commencement at this stage will be around about the second quarter of 2024, and that will also obviously tie in with our first shipment. I did mention that the 650 odd square kilometres that we've got also deals with a number of other opportunities which are outside of high purity quartz. I will just touch on those on the basis that we are concentrating today on HPQ. We do have gold and copper opportunities. You can see from this map where we're situated, and we also have, these areas are also very good for copper, and we also have other opportunities in terms of phosphates and other rare earths. Our strategy in terms of gold and copper is that we've engaged another external geologist, a guy named Chris Edmund-Jones, to have a look at that in conjunction with our advisory panel, and particularly Michael Etheridge, Dr. Michael Etheridge, in evaluating where we might go for our copper opportunity particularly. So at this stage, we want to have a position at Greentech where we are offering a solution to the high purity quartz exercise in Australia. There's no one else in Australia doing the quality of high purity quartz that we are doing. On top of that, we believe that our position enabling us to commence mining and getting to a position of quality product into China particularly is better than anyone else at the moment. We believe that we can also engage in significant connections in China by way of our offtake agreements. We believe that the mining operations are relatively simple. Processing, as I said before, is relatively simple in that the processing on-site in Mount Isa is available to us. Our sales and production volumes are consistent with what we are able to do. Our mining plan is proven, and we have the capacity not only to take the ore, but also process and ship the ore. And we are currently engaging, as I say, with offtake arrangements in China. I do believe that the current position in China and worldwide dictates that the price for high purity quartz feedstock, depending on how we go with the final analysis of our percentage, if you like, that is the 99.99. If we can get to those sorts of figures, our price for high purity quartz feedstock for our particular product should exceed those figures that are presented on that page. I'm happy to take questions, George.
Thank you, Terry. I do have a few questions came through while you're presenting. The first one says HPQ market is dominated by a small number of giant players.
Yes.
Greentech's key competitive advantage.
Let me just say that at the moment we're of the understanding that Unimin and Silica, if you like, have got around about 70% of the market. The benefit that those two companies have is effectively that they are able to tailor the product before it leaves America, the United States. So they're tailoring a product to suit a particular market. What we haven't got the capacity to do at this point is to fine-tune the product to be able to do that. Our ambition is to, in fact, have Greentech do further work in Australia to be able to fine-tune the product for particular use. Having said that, we do have the facility of being able to do that initial run of high purity quartz feedstock to China for offtake. And that then means, of course, that our relationship with China and the way in which we might develop that association in a way in which that then benefits not only us from the point of view of not having to undertake the purification process in Australia, it just means that we also are producing with our partners in China, if you like, and our offtake arrangements to have a product that is again being fine-tuned in China, where it's ultimately going to be used. So I think the way in which we are now approaching the development of our particular product for the market in China particularly means that we can bypass the way in which Silica and Unimin are doing the product improvement. They've had the experience and have had the opportunity to develop that and build that over time. What we're going to do is effectively have that offtake arrangement and partnership exercise, if you like, and I use the word partnership broadly. We will have the opportunity of doing that fine-tuning in China.
Thank you. What is the planned production capacity and what percentage of market share does that represent? When
we're producing 10,000 tonnes, we will be producing an unknown, if you like, and I'll say unknown, and I don't mean to avoid this question. What we have is 10,000 tonnes. What we don't know, and we're in the position of trying to establish this at the moment, is what we convert 10,000 tonnes of ore to in terms of what 99.99 is or better. And ultimately, the answer to the other part of the question I can't give you because we don't know exactly what that percentage will be for the overall market. What we're hoping is that we can become the major supplier of high purity quartz feedstock for the Chinese market.
Right. The following question is, I don't know how to translate this. How much percentage will be your cooperation with China? I guess that's questions in terms of sales, I suppose.
Again, that is a very commercial question in that each one of these offtake arrangements which we'll put in place will have particularly a commercial answer. In other words, when we produce a product that let's say is 99.998 or 6 or something like that, in other words, a very, very good product, we might say that our particular position on that, if given that we've got that particular product, we might say that we want a bigger slice of the pie in the event that this product is that good and it's not available elsewhere. Having said that, we've got other product which is coming from similar parts of our leasehold which may not achieve 99.996. It might be that we achieve 99.99, and therefore our commercial position may not be as advantaged. Therefore, we will not have the opportunity of taking a larger part of the pie. So again, I would like to be able to give you a percentage, but I can't. Obviously, from Greentech's point of view, we would like to have a loose terms partnership offtake arrangement which betters the position for Greentech Minerals such that, it's commensurate with the product that we're producing at that purity level.
Are you facing any regulatory challenges while developing your business?
No, in the short answer, there's no regulatory problems. We've got a number of EPs, exploration permits, that extend over the 650 odd square kilometres that we've got. We've got an existing mining lease, which is absolutely essential from our point of view and the government's point of view for us to be able to undertake mining, and we have that lease.
Besides high purity quartz, what's your priority for other minerals?
At the moment, as I indicated, we've got an interest in copper. Copper has been a very important staple, if you like, for Mount Isa. The area around Mount Isa has been very good for copper. We understand that there are leaseholds adjacent to our existing leases that have been good for an indicated copper resource. And for that reason, we believe that it's worth our company having a look at that. That's why we've undertaken to have further work done in conjunction with Chris Tedman-Jones and Dr. Michael Etheridge to have a look at what our prospects are with regard to copper.
That's right. I guess we have time for one more question, and that is, does the company have plan for IPO?
We have been down the path in the last 12 months of an IPO. We think that there is an opportunity. I think that probably the next time we have a look at an IPO will be after we have had and secured a better position with offtake and arrangements with a number of Chinese companies that are interested in taking our high purity quartz feedstock. We have been down the path in the last 12 months.
Technical issue.
There is an opportunity. Probably I think the next time we have a look at it, after a better position offtake arrangements.
Okay.
Are you still with me, George?
Yes, I am. I guess, Terry, with that, we'll wrap up your presentation.
Thank you.
Stop sharing the screen. Thank you, Terry, for that presentation.
Pleasure.
Yeah. Next, presenting today, we're delighted to have the Managing Director of Industrial Minerals, Mr. Jeff Sweet. Mr. Sweet has extensive experience in the quarry, mining, and logistics industries of more than 24 years, preliminary in operations management roles, practical experience working for owner, operator, and contracting companies in resources sectors, including silica, sands, gold, iron ore, phosphate, and construction materials. He's also managing director of Bandera Enterprises, which has developed several mining projects in WA. And prior to this, Jeff was a general manager for mining for CI Resources, which is another ASX listed company. With that, I'll hand over to Jeff.
Thank you very much, George, and thank you very much for the opportunity to present industrial minerals in this format. I'll just briefly go past the disclaimer. If your listeners would like to have a read through that at a later time, that would be fine.
You need to share your screen, Jeff.
Oh, sorry, my apologies.
There you go.
Yep. So, look, Industrial Minerals was listed in July of 2021, and is led by a strong board chaired by Ashley Patterson, who's one of the founding shareholders and has 20 plus years of experience at the corporate and financial level, as well as contract mining services and mine site establishment, both here in Australia and internationally as well. As mentioned previously, I've a background in mining operations, and I guess I bring that practical mining experience into the team, and we're supported by two non-executive directors, Alex Newling, with extensive mining experience in the chartered accounting and company secretary fields predominantly, and Melanie Layton, who provides technical experience as a geologist, and currently she's also CEO of Titan Minerals, another ASX listed company. We are a public listed company, as stated. We've got a very tight shareholding, with the top 20 shareholders holding over 70% of the stock, and board and key management holding a further, or holding approximately 25% as well. So, you know, we've been well supported since listing in 2021, and I guess that provides some benefit for current shareholders and opportunities going forward in terms of further funding as required. So one further member of the team who's not listed here is our marketing manager, Mr. Wei Li, who's currently over in China dealing with potential offtake partners, but is predominantly experienced in the mining of manganese and processing in China, and has taken the reins promoting and marketing the Silica sand and high purity quartz projects as we've developed them over the last couple of years. So at listing, I guess Industrial Minerals was a high purity silica sand focused explorer, and we had several projects at the time of listing. And once we got out in the field and realised the environmental and heritage challenges that are present to all mining activities, not only in Australia but specifically in Western Australia, you know, we changed our focus slightly to look at pre-cleared farmland, with the intention of one, identifying suitable quality resource, and two, negating to some extent the environmental and heritage issues that you find when clearing native vegetation on Bacon Crown land. And we've been reasonably successful in building up a substantial tenement holding across areas that are not only prospective for good, high quality sand, but also proximal to existing ports with current port access capabilities. The Stockyard project was our first project, which we were able to move through exploration, define a mineral resource, and move to fully approved, and essentially the project's mine ready, and I'm waiting on finalising offtake agreements. As we've progressed through our journey, I guess we've had steady inbound inquiries for high purity silica sand, predominantly for the higher specification PV solar panel glass market. And I guess that, you know, that's required for an Australian exporter to justify the cost of not only mining within our jurisdiction, but also shipping to the end customer, which in this particular case is predominantly into China. the higher specification required for solar panel glass also provides a slightly higher value as opposed to some of the other opportunities for high purity silica sand. Over the last couple of years, we've spent a reasonable amount of time across several trips into China and meeting and discussing with potential offtake partners. During that time, we've not only progressed the relationships with these potential partners, but also been exposed to the other opportunities, which includes high purity quartz and the application not only to the PV solar panel market, but also the broader high tech opportunities. From there, we reviewed our existing tenements up in the Pilbara region of Western Australia and identified some high purity quartz potential. Some early stage assessments has been done on our Quartz prospects, and we've ventured further afield into the Port Hedland region, once again in reasonably close proximity to port, and again chasing the high purity feedstock requirements. So essentially, high purity silica sand and high purity quartz are industrial minerals and really driven by the fundamentals of industrial minerals being primarily, it's a non-metallic product. The geology required to meet the specification is the first indicator, and we're chasing hydrothermal vein and pegmatite hosted quartz, which have been proven worldwide to be suitable feedstock for high purity quartz potential. The chemical composition obviously is a key hurdle, and understanding what mineral inclusions, whether structurally or at a macro level, is key, and then understanding the process required to remove and beneficiate this product to a saleable quality level. Another key driver for these minerals is the transport, and in particular both transport to port and then obviously shipping into the end market. Obviously we have a bit more control over the transport on land based on our project locations, and while the quality of the resource is important, we've always endeavoured to minimise that transportation cost to the port and ensure the infrastructure is in place to support that transport through all the way through to the end product taker. Offtake's a critical part of the process as well, and understanding the supply chain characteristics, being either delivering and working with intermediary processes, supporting the distribution, and obviously final product going through to the end users. We've always been keen to work with a strategic partner on building these relationships, and obviously putting ourselves in the right position to both secure a long-term supply opportunity, and as well as maintaining the right value throughout the process for both ourselves and obviously our partners as well. But as mentioned before, the market demand has predominantly been from China, but the opportunities in further afield in Southeast and Eastern Asia and Japan, South Korea and Taiwan also is yet to be explored and fully understood. In terms of the applications for both high purity silica sand and high purity quartz, it definitely ranges from the lower quality silica sands through to I guess, the ultra high purity for the high end electronics applications, and that our silica sand, as mentioned before, is at a level where we're starting at the high purity silica sand for photovoltaic solar panel glass, and from there really it's more into the high purity quartz applications, being for high purity quartz tubing, electronics for electronic instruments, and high temperature applications. Quartz crucibles are a key target for us, and in the layer quartz has an extremely high specification that we will continue to endeavour to reach, and I guess realistically, the higher value we're able to achieve, obviously the better return we should receive when selling the product. In saying that, lower value, lower specification products are still within our scope, I guess partially due to the fact that we're in reasonable proximity to the port, and our transportation costs are somewhat lower, enabling us to, I guess, broaden our product specification that we can follow. So as mentioned before, we've started off exploring for high purity silica sand. We've got quite a large area across the southwest of Western Australia, which is historically supplied high purity silica sand into the Asian markets, with various Chinese companies operating within the state over the last several decades. As mentioned, we're predominantly aiming at cleared farmland, which gives us the ability to rapidly develop and get approval for our projects, and the Stockyard project being an example, which is proximal to the Geraldton port. So the resource that we've proven to date sits at just at around the 12 million mark, but we haven't covered a vast area at this point in time. Our intention has been to have a resource in place and then continue to move towards development and production. And the reason being, port capacity is always a challenge in Western Australia. It's not always open, and it's not all, and it's limited based on the number of potential explorers in the area. So while we are fully approved and ready to commence mining, I guess the stage that we're at is offtake discussions with several potential strategic partners, and they're ongoing. And once we have an offtake agreement in place, we'll finalise scoping studies and move rapidly into the development phase. In terms of the product coming out of Stockyard and some of our other projects in the southwest, we've worked with sand manufacturing companies and consultants both here in Australia and in China, and proven that we're able to meet that PV solar panel spec, both at Stockyard and also at our projects, which some of them are once again proximal to the Port of Esperance and also the Port of Albany. The key driver for solar panel glass is the low iron specifically, and then several other elements that have thresholds as well, but the iron being one of the key ones in terms of I guess minimising the impurity levels that hinder the transmission of the light through to the solar cells. As mentioned before, we moved into the quartz market after spending time in China and talking with various potential buyers in that silica sand space who also had interest in the high purity quartz space as well. We've identified some small deposits at our Karratha tenement and gone further afield and further expanded into the broader Pilbara region where there's various quartz and pegmatic hosted quartz, quartz vein and pegmatic hosted quartz within the region. Specifically, I guess we found ourselves targeting an existing mining operation that was historically mined for pegmatites feeding into the feldspar production line. The Pipingara quarry is located approximately 30 kilometres out of the port of Port Hedland, and we've recently acquired the rights to explore and potentially develop the mine for high purity quartz and potentially lithium as well. Late last year, we following the acquisition of the mineral rights, we reviewed a very extensive amount of historical data from previous operators, including Uniman and others, and the data indicated that the high purity quartz opportunity was well and truly viable, as well as the potential for lithium with 1 6-metre historical drill hole intercepting at a grade of just over 3.7% lithium oxide. In November, December last year, we commenced our own drilling program to test the historical data, and we've had some confirmatory results to date at the geological level. The quartz intercepts are quite promising and somewhat correlatory to the historical data, and we've also had various lithium intercepts as well to support that opportunity. Otherwise, we're awaiting the final results to do a full analysis of the opportunity. Historically at the site, it had been mined for tantalite, beryl, other mica products throughout predominantly through the 70s through to the 2000s, and currently it's an operating mine site with all infrastructure in place to commence mining for quartz, as well as the potential for feldspar and mica as byproducts as well. That includes workshops, full mining and crushing fleet, camp facilities, weighbridge, and as mentioned before, the infrastructures in place for transportation to port within a very short haul distance. Our intention at the moment is to continue to work on the processing side of the quartz. So we have samples sent to potential offtake partners in China, as well as laboratories in Western Australia and also across in the United States, where they've been processing pegmatite-hosted quartz for the last several decades. A lot of this work is ongoing and pending, but I guess, as Terry mentioned before, obviously the aim is to improve the quality by removing the impurities and achieving as high a purity as possible in the 4.9+ range is obviously the target. But as mentioned, also as the quality drops down, the value drops as well. But we will also endeavour to utilise all sources and obviously chase the markets for any potential product. This is just an image of some of the drill core from the historical work done, just indicating some of the clear quartz through some of the intercepts. And as mentioned, really the offtake and the processing works where we're at the moment with that. So I guess in summary, we're a group of our team's experienced in operating mines and developing operations. We've got high purity quartz and lithium potential not only at the Pipingara project but also further afield within the Pilbara region, with the potential to rapidly move towards production, being on a granted mining lease. We've got a developed Silica sand projects awaiting final offtake negotiations to be signed off, and we're chasing high purity quartz across our various projects, where as mentioned previously, the right quality does achieve a premium price. And we've got a very supportive shareholder base, and I guess our share price over the long term has somewhat reflected that. Thank you very much so far, and look forward to taking any of your questions.
Thank you, Jeff, for that. We do have a few questions came in. The first one, can you comment on the difference between your product and that of Greentech?
I suppose the short answer is no. Every geological deposit's going to be different. I believe that they have a quartz blow, as Terry mentioned. It's all above ground. That's somewhat similar to the majority of the quartz exposed on the Pipingara projects, but that doesn't mean it's the same type of quartz or it's going to achieve the same end product specification. So it's an ongoing iterative process. Early stages, we're looking at the raw specification around the 99.98, which is somewhat, I guess it's somewhat typical for a quartz of similar style. And I guess it's a starting point that you need to work on as you work through the processing stages as well.
Right. And in terms of different applications, such as solar, electronics, which application gives you the highest value?
Look, the inner layer quartz sand is really always the aim in terms of high spec and high value. While we'll continue to work towards achieving that, the value obviously is still substantial as you work your way down those quality thresholds. And value obviously is one thing, but obviously the market opportunity is the other factor as well. So really we'll be in a position to be able to sell a DSO product at the early stages, and obviously the product potential of the ore will determine what the value is. But as we continue to I guess develop the opportunity we'd like to think that we do further processing on site and try to keep some of that value within the company and within Australia as well.
The Pilbara region has been extensively explored and developed. How can you maintain some competitive advantage for your lithium exploration?
Yes, look, obviously location would be one factor that would be in our favour, in that we're very closely located to the port. We're mine ready now, and it's an active mine site, so speed to market is in our favour. And really, the quality of Quartz is never the same across any two deposits. So whichever way that goes will determine our real opportunity, and that goes for any other potential explorer who's in that field as well. But I guess what we've got in our favour is I guess some long-term connections into the high purity silica sand and the high purity quartz markets, and that's given us opportunities to, I guess, test the market with small samples going into those potential buyers. But really, the internal processing work is key for us to really go out and promote what our potential and our opportunity and our potential products are.
Right. I guess these couple of questions are probably a little bit premature, as you have not started production, but I'll ask them anyway.
Yep.
One, what's the proportion of your top 3 clients? I guess they're asking in terms of sales or offtake percentage. And how do you rank your company in the industry?
For sure. I think you're right. It's probably a bit premature, but I can answer them as best I can. Look, predominantly the interest has definitely been coming out of mainland China, and that's predominantly been directed to the I guess the quartz crucible market. Obviously the highest demand product would be the inner layer quartz sand, and obviously as the specification for the middle and outer layer drops, the opportunity for other sources increases. So that continues to be our primary aim. But in saying that, the quartz powder market we've seen some interest in that as well, in terms of filler for the electronics industries, in terms of semiconductor encapsulants and other potential applications. So we will work our way through the process and then look at all the various opportunities for us. Also knowing, I guess, that the more product opportunities potentially means the more processes we have to consider as well, whether that be within Australia or with a suitable strategic partner in China or elsewhere in other markets. In terms of our market share, there's no real way of being able to define that for ourselves at this point in time. We haven't gone out and done any taken any third-party market analysis at this point. We've done our own research and continuing to build I guess a knowledge base in conjunction with industry experts who have been in the field for a lot longer than we have. And I think that's just IP that slowly builds over time.
Yeah. We have one last question before we wrap up. Would you comment or I'd say speculate the reasons for your recent decline in your share price?
Yes, it's pretty simple, I think. That we've been an industrial mineral explorer for the majority of our time as a listed company. In acquiring the Pip and Garra projects, we, I guess, obviously took on the opportunity to explore for lithium as well. That comes with its pros, and I guess our share price somewhat jumped once we announced that acquisition, and subsequently we are obviously now in that group of lithium explorers, and subsequently our price has dropped accordingly as well, regardless of what our operations or results may be. So yes, it's predominantly driven by being within that lithium space.
Yeah, I guess the market sentiment does fluctuate, and this is probably the nature of the resources industry.
For sure.